All right, I'm going to open it with the Colorado State game, the call, because I know it's going to be asked. And as you can imagine, I've largely moved on, as has our team. It's the goal every week. It's particularly the goal this week. It was a rough result to feel for 3-4 minutes, whatever that was, to feel like we had earned a victory, and then have that taken away was difficult and difficult to come back from. I've gotten a lot of questions. I'm not a rules expert, but I understand how officiating works. That's not a Mountain West Conference crew. It's not some homegrown crew. That is college football officials. They officiate nationally around the country. Officials are graded every week, promoted, demoted, suspended in some cases, and the call, just from the UNC perspective, was unfortunate and a bad break. It doesn't mean that our guys can't have their opinions, but the most important thing right now is that we move on. If we're getting a lot of pats on the back, and I told our players, if we feel like all we got to do is play like we did at Colorado State, then we've already lost this week. It's a new challenge, a very good football team, a team that does not lose at home, a team that's well built and has an identity, well coached. South Dakota is a major challenge for us. It represents a gold brick option for our program, gold brick target, because they're a very, very good football team. They were in the Final Four last year. That's the equivalent at the FBS level of us, playing Texas, Penn State, Notre Dame, Ohio State. That was the Final Four at the FBS level. So I know people will look at logos sometimes and, South Dakota lost to Lamar. They don't know that logo. That's not how players and coaches look at it. South Dakota is a very solid football team, offense, defense, and special teams, and they're worthy of our full attention. No, I appreciate the question, and you don't have to qualify the questions about last week. We're moving on in our mind, but I come in here every Wednesday to talk about the previous game and the next game, so I'm comfortable looking back as much as you want to ask. But the building of this program has been done through high school recruiting. It's been done in the weight room. It's been done in the film room, on the practice field. I see those steps all year long. Our coaches, our players see and feel those steps. We've remained confident in our approach. We didn't go recruit a bunch of transfers last year after winning one game in 2 years. We doubled down on the high school recruiting. We doubled down on the development. We doubled down on the local recruiting. And so, but specifically to your question, it does feel good. It should feel good to our players and coaches that maybe people on the outside can see a light at the end of the tunnel. It's been tremendously difficult to have so many losses on the field and feel like we're letting people down, letting the community down, letting the university down, letting ourselves down, our teammates, those we coach and those that we are coached by. So yes, I'm pleased that there maybe is some public perception that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but we lost a game. And in this, the greatest thing about football is, if you need to be taught a lesson, you will be taught a lesson. And if we need humility, we'll be taught a lesson at South Dakota. They will have no problem teaching us a lesson. Only the hungry get fed. And so we've got to figure out how hungry we are. The process for us is the same every week. Difficult loss, game that was over early in the third quarter, essentially, playing up a level, down a level. It's always the same. On Sunday and Monday, those are our flush days. We're going to come in, we're going to lift, we're going to run, we're going to get injury check, and we're going to have our film review. In the case of victories, we give out players of the game, try to make recognitions for a job well done publicly. In the case of a loss, like this last week, we keep that a little more private and talk about what was done well and celebrate those moments as much as possible, and try to build on the things that were done well, but correct the things that we need to do better in order to have a better chance to win the next week. And then I think there's a process throughout the week. I will normally speak to the team briefly after Tuesday's practice with a little bit of an assessment of what I felt like the focus was and the energy and the excitement was, and I just try to be as honest as I can be in those moments, and either ask for more because we didn't give enough, or ask for more because we have more in us and we want to build on a great Tuesday practice. And I think we have a lot more work to do this week. I know that we're going to face an angry, hungry South Dakota team, and in this sport, the combination of hunger and confidence is really powerful, and there's no question they're confident enough to beat the Bears. I'm sure they've had this marked as a win since it got on the schedule.
If I can, you guys could certainly be perceived as angry and hungry.
I hope so.
I guess that's something that South Dakota has to deal with then.
Yeah, the game will tell. I think, at this point in our schedule, so a team mantra for us, you guys have heard me say it for months, has been respect every opponent, bow to no program. And the beginning of the schedule was set up very nicely for that. We had to respect Chadron State. They have a Division II program. We're supposed to win. And then the very next week we play up a level, and we want to bow to no program. And the guys responded to that. And now it's a little different challenge. Every team on our schedule can beat us. And I'd like to think that we can beat every team on our schedule. So it's about how we prepare and play, how hungry we are. And that blend of confidence and humility is going to be the secret sauce. And I don't think we find that out in a final analysis until test day, until the examination day, until Saturday, until the game. We can make predictions based on practice, but it's called, oftentimes in football programs, we always call Tuesday Bloody Tuesday because there are just a lot of mistakes. There are changes, wrinkles, different reactions that we have to make to what an opponent's doing. Whether we put in a whole new game plan or not, or we stay exactly the same, Tuesday is still, there's a lot of learning moments. There are a lot of learning moments. 100%, and I've seen that from our players. I spoke to our players after the game about the penultimate drive, the drive before our final drive. We had a chance to put the game away on offense. We had the ball and the lead with 5 minutes left. That's a common situation in football called the 4-minute drill. Can we run off that clock? We had already forced CSU to burn a timeout, and so they only had 2 timeouts left. A couple of first downs would have really put that game on ice. Also, the last drive we had on defense, we gave up a touchdown. If we hold them there, stop them there, and we got them in some long yardage situations and didn't capitalize on it, we win the game going away in that regard. After the game, Eric Gibson, who stepped in as he's now our starting quarterback, but was our backup quarterback a couple of weeks ago. Somebody asked him about the final call of the game, or the no catch review. And he went right to him losing the football on our own 20-yard line or so, and talked about how that was what cost us the game. So I think our team's really in tune to that. This is not an immature team that's pointing the fingers at any kind of referee's decision. What I'm concerned about is that our team thinks, well, if we're good enough to hang with CSU, we're certainly good enough to beat South Dakota. And I'll say it right now, no disrespect to CSU. South Dakota can give CSU all they can handle. It's a really insightful question, and so that defense is built from the head coach, who's been promoted to head coach recently, Coach Johansson, and you can see their philosophy. They run their identity front and coverage most of the game. I hesitate to use the word predictable because sometimes that can be a negative connotation. They believe in what they do. They're convicted about it, and they have 11 tacklers on the field, and that's always catches my eye as a defensive background head coach, because that's what I believe in is we don't have cover corners on our field. Everybody's got to be able to shed blocks. Everybody's got to be able to tackle. They do that really well. They play a system of defense that allows them to have 22 eyes on the ball. All 11 guys are generally looking at the ball in one way or another. They get off blocks really well. They run full speed to the football from good angles, and they tackle. Sometimes I'll say it to defensive guys. Some guys want to be the second guy in on the tackle. You can't have too many of those guys. South Dakota has 11 guys that want to be the first man in on the tackle. I understand why you're saying that. I don't think they're searching for an identity. I think they know their identity. I think Lamar's a very good football team. I think Iowa State's a very good football team. There were highly successful moments. They had multiple opportunities, South Dakota did, to win the Lamar game. spilled the ball going in on the 1 yard line, spilled the ball on a kickoff return, cost them deep. It really was, as it often is, a game of turnovers, takeaways, whatever you're calling them based on your side of the football. And then at Iowa State, that was some impressive film. I know the final score, when you consider offense, defense, special teams, and 60 minutes and the environment that they were in and how good Iowa State is. But I can tell you that Iowa State, if you talk to their offensive line coach and running game coordinator right now, they'll tell you they had a really tough sledding trying to run the football. They're an outside zone identity team, and they could not get a yard against South Dakota's front in that play. Yeah, excellent player, outstanding player. I would say we're trying to build a team of Mikey Munns. Local guys with good length, good upside. He's got great speed. He ran, I think, 11 times sub 1,100 meters in high school. I mean, he's a really impressive athlete, doing a great job for them. Broke through with an interception last week. He's a really good player. He was already committed to South Dakota when we got the job here. And we weren't able to talk him out of that. It's a good option. I'm happy for him. Happy for anybody to make their decision wherever they're going to go. But those are the kind of guys that we need to keep home to have a chance. Well, I can tell you, I've coached some pretty big places in big games with ranked teams at Tennessee and at Wisconsin, at Washington, some places at Autzen Stadium, Oregon, taking ranked teams in their place, facing ranked teams. And I can tell you that the loudest stadium I've ever been in is at the University of Idaho. When I was coaching there, we had San Diego State in, 2 group of 5 teams. Idaho was at that time was FBS. We were in the Sun Belt, and just the way that noise can echo when the crowd really gets into it. Those are the loudest places that you can play in, and South Dakota has always been loud. The first time I went there, they put us in this. I think they had access. We had access to a bunch of different locker rooms, is how they do it. And this was over a decade ago, so previous administration and everything. But I think they locked all those up and gave us one little tiny locker room, cranked up the heat, took the thermostat off the wall. They had Harley Davidson's leading their team in, and you couldn't hear anything. Came by, blew smoke at what do they call that? Black smoke rolled our sideline. I mean, it was really, really loud, intimidating. They kicked our butts. It's as difficult or more difficult than any of those places that I mentioned. I'm a little bit unprepared to answer that, except for in the way that I expressed admiration for South Dakota's defense. In order to have a lot of guys making tackles, there have to be a lot of guys that can make tackles, and more importantly than that, are willing to make tackles. Defense is oftentimes just a test of who's willing to sacrifice their body. There's not a lot of praise for the guy that's making the tackle as opposed to the guy that's scoring the touchdown sometimes. And it's similar on the offensive line. You just got to have a group out there that's committed to their teammates. And so that's why sometimes when the score gets out of hand, it looks like the defense suddenly kind of just breaks and falters, is because some of that desire to give up your body for the team, I think, can be taken away. Guys can get disheartened. And right now our defense is playing with a lot of heart and a lot of belief in their teammates, a lot of belief in their offense, and they're all trying to get to the ball. All of our defensive guys are trying to get to the ball when they should. There's always some responsibilities to take care of. You can't have everybody chasing the ball, but they all want to make the tackle. They all want to be first to the tackle as well. It's good insight.
You said that maybe somewhere in there?
No, I didn't say that. And the reason I didn't, I alluded to that. I'm a little bit unprepared to answer that question because in the case of playing a precision passing offense, the DBs are going to make nearly all the tackles. And so it has, sometimes who's making the tackle has a lot to do with who has the assignment and how the offense is attacking. And so I didn't necessarily want to go to that. But you're right, we generally don't want our free safety making all the tackles. That's generally not a good sign. But as a cleanup guy, as an eraser guy, to beat good football teams that have the ability to get the ball past the line of scrimmage consistently, you've got to have great free safety.